Hello and welcome to Daily Ask Music. My name is Pastor Colin McDonald and I'm here with Nick Parr for Musicians in Conversation. And man, thank you for coming out.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
I've been looking forward to this for a long time because I've been listening to When the Bars Close for like a long time. But before we get into all that,
Okay.
taking it back to the beginning,
Yeah.
I assume a lot of things about you from listening to the record and your influence and where you come from and
Okay.
all that. So start me like
They're all
born,
lies.
raised.
All lies. I'm just kidding. No.
I'm figuring they are.
Yeah.
But like born, raised, like where'd you grow up? How'd you get into this, that kind of thing?
Sure. So I'm from Corpus Christi, Gulf Coast, Texas suburb town, kind of blue collar. I started playing piano because my dad plays piano by ear, and my grandpa did too. But my grandpa was like, well, he was a World War II guy, went to Europe and did World War II. Was of that generation, so I don't know if they valued entertainment. You know, that was kind of frivolous. So he would hear something just kind of plunk on the piano. And then my dad was next in line, and he still came of a time where I don't think people quite understood it because his older brother was like a fighter pilot in Vietnam. Right. So my dad was this artsy guy. And I think the world still, especially in Texas, it was still very much like, boy, go out there and fight for your country, you know? And so my dad has this amazing piano ability, but same thing, he was good, and he could do that boogie-woogie stuff.
Right.
And then I just grew up around him riffing on songs. Mm-hmm. And so I would be a little kid building blocks by the piano. Right. And so he was playing Grateful, and you know, all dads in the 90s have these big stereo systems. Yes. So he would be playing like Rolling Stones live concerts or Grateful Dead live or Chuck Berry or some cool cut of like James Brown live at the Apollo, but on a huge stereo system. Nice. So I just grew up, I think, like immersed in really good music and kind of thinking that was what most people understood music to be. Yeah. So, and then at some point, started plunking around on the piano. So I think that's where I came from was that. It was definitely outside of the like music education, but it was a different kind of music education.
So when did sax come in? Was that in school? Was that later?
Yeah. Also, Grandpa story, right? He had a Selmer C-Star, which is like a thing that saxophone people covet. I had no idea what the hell that was, but it's a thing that's cool. Yeah. And same thing. I think he played it when he was in like 1930, when he was in middle school or whatever the hell they did back then. And so I was always kind of drawn towards it. And then there's always that time in 6th grade or 7th grade when the band directors come to school to see if like there's anyone that's actually good at music. Yeah. And they'll do the pitch thing, and I was like, I could guess pitches. Right. And so I got pushed towards saxophone. I wanted to play it, and I think some people were like, what about clarinet? And I was like, no. Go to hell. Yeah. And I mean, for boys and girls at home, saxophone over clarinet every time. Do it. So it was just this instrument that I started playing in middle school, and very quickly, I think the first day I had it, I made up a song. I brought it to my band director, and he was like, "Did you like learn?" And I was like, "I just heard it." Yeah. And he was like, "All right, you're on fast track. Like, come on, 18." So I started in middle school, but pretty much everything I'm doing on stage and all that stuff is like self-taught.
You see a lot of people start in middle school, right, and have that as their inspiration, their influence. Right. That's hard to get out of when you're trying to play boogie woogie, when you're trying to play soulful. Like
roots music, right?
Yeah, and then you had kind of the opposite things to.
I think it was really useful because then when I do get exposed to like pop music, like if I was, in high school or middle school, like Foster the People or like Cage the Elephant or like Jason Mraz, I liked it, but I'm also understanding like that's one type of music. And then stuff like Dr. John or Leon Russell or like the Supremes or Motown music or Frank Sinatra, that's another kind of music. Yeah. And understanding the context, and thank God I did, because it really helps with songwriting and stuff like that.
And
for sure.
You also understood where it came from,
yes,
and where it was influenced.
There's a lineage, right? Right, exactly. Yeah.
And that's, I mean, we were talking earlier. That's one thing I think the current music scene is missing. Sure. Is that music history that we got just by listening and having a dad that was playing you the records, right? Where all this stuff came from.
Well, and also I think because it's like when you are listening to a live Motown album or something like that, there's a love of it and it's not pretentious yet, and you're not. And I, as a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old, I didn't even understand the aesthetic of the Four Tops. Right. I don't know. Yeah. And so it's funny now because you see these kind of big box record labels where they're trying to recreate this soul R&B 70s groovy thing, but it's hollow because they don't understand what disco music is and how it relates to funk and how that relates to James Brown and how that relates. Like, they don't get that. Yeah. So you end up with like these really like kind of plasticky weird stuff.
So you're in Corpus. When did you come to Austin? When did that all happen?
Yeah. So 2012. I went to UT Austin. I got in for marketing, and it was one of these things where I was almost going to go to Texas A&M, which is kind of funny now, just because I don't know what the hell I would have done there. and
you made a good choice.
Yeah, it was one of the things. My whole family did the A&M track,
right?
But it made sense. Like I told you, my grandpa was a World War II guy. Yeah. My brother right now, he was in Iraq and is like this decorated military guy. My dad went there because he was told he was supposed to, even though he should have gone to an art school. And my whole family did the A&M thing. And then my sister was the first one that went to UT for graphic design.
Oh, nice.
And then she's like about 10 years older than me. And then I went to UT because I was this artsy guy. And I remember I was like had a real dilemma about it, and it's so funny now because it's like I feel like I'm a pretty Austin dude. It fits me. And at the time I was almost going to go to A&M and be a dude that went to the Dixie Chicken and listen to country music. So almost.
So that was 2012.
Yeah.
And then you started playing on the scene right when you got here?
I tried. I brought my horn out a couple times to some blues jams, but I was 17 when I left for college. Yeah. So I was a year young. I was always a year younger, because my mom is like this So I'm half Mexican, and my mom is this overachiever, like Hispanic mom who wants her kid to like go be a star.
Right.
So I was a year early on everything. So I was 17. I went off to college, and I remember bringing my horn out to like the Long Branch Inn where they used to have this Monday night. You ever go there?
Oh yeah.
Yup.
Yeah.
And being completely intimidated by it at first because it's tough.
Yeah.
It's like some salty dogs out there.
Before you know, it seems like those are the best of the best.
That's what's interesting too. There's a pyramid.
Yeah.
And you don't realize it's not to shit talk a blues jam on a Monday night, but it's important to contextualize what that is.
Amen.
And also, like, there's a lot of good musicians who still occasionally will go to, like, Gary Clark, to his credit, will sometimes show up at Friends.
Right.
But he's doing that for whatever reasons. But that's not. It's not an academic exercise to be there. It's you're getting to meet musicians, you're hanging out, you're playing your horn a bit. You learn how to be on stage.
Right.
And then, so anyway, that's what I did. And I do remember for a long time, there was this like, oh my gosh, this guy and this guy, those are the guys. And then at some point you're like, wait a second, I need to learn how to book shows.
So, I mean, you wrote as soon as you got the sax, but when did you start really writing
my catalog of stuff? My catalog, right? I started writing, I remember, so I was, do you know Soul Man Sam? Yeah, so I think, I haven't had a break in music yet. It's all just tragedy. But like one of the things that was cool was I started sitting in with him around 2016, probably 2015, 2016. So I was like around 21, 22 years old.
Right.
And I remember being on stage with him, and I didn't know that all these 70s funk and soul songs had specific parts that I should be playing. I just was kind of riffing on them and getting people mad at me. But he liked me, so it was fine. And because he'd always be like, Nick, go, solo. And but I just remember I'd often be thinking on stage, like, man, this would be cool if the chords did this, or like, what if we did this with the chorus, or like, why not have this riff here? Why not? At some point, you're like, oh wait, like you should just be like writing songs. Like that's what that means.
Yeah.
Just like if you're a guy in someone else's band who keeps having great ideas about that song, probably time to go start your own band.
Yeah.
And so probably around 2016, it was my senior year in college. I went from ironically writing songs to like actually trying to write songs, and they fucking sucked. But that's okay.
Yeah. You were learning.
You're learning because you're trying to like articulate things, and when your brain isn't developed yet, like you sound like a crazy person, and that's okay.
And that's not even just okay. That's necessary.
And it's beautiful in its own way.
Yeah.
Because I'll hear songs from like my first EP that we put out in 2017. That's the one that, I don't know if you've seen the art. It has the astronauts on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't like it anymore. But it's also it's a different me, and I was articulating things in a different way because
And now you don't have to make that record.
No, and that's what's so great.
Yeah.
Yes. So I started then, and a lot of it was just writing stuff down. And it was funny. I used to think lyrics didn't really matter very much, and I remember I'd be like, because I've got so much energy on stage, I was like, I'll just make it up. and I was so like aggressively confident in my ability, and it's like, well, I wasn't a very good singer yet, and I didn't know how to write lyrics, and I didn't know anything about songs. I was just a guy who was talented at piano and the sax a little bit, so it's fine.
But the confidence is everything.
It's necessary.
It's everything, because if you go up there and you're not confident, it doesn't matter if you're the greatest writer of all time. No. Nobody will listen to you.
Because you got to sell it.
Yeah.
I think your job as an entertainer it's very much like I don't want to sound like condescending, but you are teaching an audience what is happening. And you're letting them know that this is good.
Right.
And letting them know that they should pay attention. We had a show in New Braunfels last week where the crowd at first, I could tell it was kind of a walk-in kind of crowd vibe. And I hate not getting paid attention because our stuff's big.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this. And I remember I had a moment where I took my sax and I ripped a solo, but I stood on like a barrel or something. But I held a note till the audience acknowledged that I was playing.
God, that's beautiful.
And I was like, you're gonna fucking listen, because this is a really good band, this is really good, and we're never gonna fucking play here again. Yeah. So like, so anyway, a lot of that, the confidence you have, and then the audience, they're in it, and I get back to the mic and I'm like, hey, y'all are with me now, what's up? Y'all having fun? Yeah, what's up, fuckers? Let's hang out. Anyway, it's a long answer. I started writing when I was in 2016 when I was in college, and a lot of irrational confidence and bad decisions. It's good.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So when did you start going on the road as you?
Probably 2017 was the first time where I started booking shows consistently, but that would be like Corpus, Round Rock, or like San Marcos, and then Austin for whatever little shitty thing we could scrape together, just cobble together bar gigs, and they were all terrible. And I did that for a year and a half, just a lot of that. And then it'd be like, oh, we could go play the Blue Light in Lubbock for $300 to open for somebody, and you're like, all right, cool, let's go drive 6 hours. And it's a lot of just doing that. So 2017 was really when I got, I think, like serious about it.
Right. Because I haven't seen you live yet, I'm going to fix that. But you have, just from what I've seen and hearing you talk about it, like you understand what you're doing and how to work a room.
Right.
And that, I don't know if you can teach it, but you can learn it.
You can learn it.
And you learn it by doing it. And
right.
I see that in you and you can hear it on the record. Because the record, it's live to tape,
right?
And you can tell in the record that you've been on the road. There's a lot of live to tape. You can tell they've been in the studio.
Right.
With you can tell you've been on the road.
That's cool.
Yeah. Oh man, it's one of my favorite records that's come out in like all of the world, not even like just in Austin, but the last 5 years.
Thanks for saying that,
man.
Because it's tough because
you never know.
You put something out like that, and then I haven't, and I think now it's getting close to where I'm maybe having the right conversations with people. I don't fucking know. But it's one of those things where you see that, and then you see the Spotify streams aren't where you want them to be, and you're not getting responses from the appropriate tastemakers, and you start being like, man, maybe I should. And it's like, you know what? Actually, it is a good record. Those are good songs. It's really fun. Yeah. It's interesting. Like I do, and it's fun to come back. So I appreciate you saying that, because like it's really easy to doubt your creation later,
especially when you hold up that record to the pop and rock that's coming out now.
Right.
It's so very different than what's out there now, and that's not always self-perceived as a good thing.
Right.
Because like, oh, I'm different and it's not working right now. Maybe I should rethink this.
Right.
But like you haven't, and that's great.
See, and I think that's a lot of music, and you probably discovered this with your own band. 2 is understanding what you do and then dialing that up to 11.
Yep.
And I think there's always pressure from people that don't really know very much and aren't super creative, but they are in positions of whatever for whatever reason. And they'll always be like, well, what you should do is you should get the right producer. You should make your stuff sound like this. Oh, you should spend more time on your digital content. Have you thought about doing more TikTok stuff? And you're like, I write songs and I play shows. And it's not just right. We're both doing a lot of these things, but understanding the context of those things.
It's grounded in what you actually do.
Right, which is I'm a live musician. Yeah. I go sweat and die every night for an audience, and I win them over to these fucking songs. And we just do it.
It's a fight.
It's a fight, and I'm gonna win the room, or I'm gonna fucking burn it down to do it.
Yeah.
Even that show I was talking about, there's a point where some guy, it was funny because he wasn't even with the venue, but he starts messing with the soundboard because he's telling us we're too loud. But they didn't have a sound guy hired. You've been in those situations.
Oh God, yeah.
And his room was like, oh, it's so loud. And it's crazy because the audience was being cool. So so for like for a song or two, like I pouted because I was pissed off, and I turned down to nothing and just played it completely listlessly.
Yep.
And then I got on the mic and did one of these things where I taught the audience, and I was like, hey, do y'all want to hear some real music? It was like, yeah. I was like, do y'all want to actually have a real show, or do you want us to be background music like that fucker says we should be? And I got like, hell no. And I was like, all right, let's have a real show. But it's like, that's one of those things where it's like, we're going to win the crowd. That's what we're going to do, or I'm going to die doing it. Or just told to leave. Yeah. But instead, the guy who booked the venue loved our show. And I was like, we'd love to have you back. Wow, that was so much fun. So anyway.
I can't see anybody that knows what they're getting into with you not wanting you back. I can see somebody hiring you as background music and be like, whoa, No.
Yes. So that is the problem I deal with.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I explicitly try to talk to with people, where like it might be an event for this, or there's the brewery that does the thing, and I'm like, hey, like, we're trying to do a stadium level show. I'm not here to play sitting on the dock of the bay.
Right.
And if you want that, you should hire someone else. Because there's people that are happy to do it.
Yeah.
And they don't have an ego, and I've got all these problems. So shouldn't do it.
Well, you demand to be the center of attention, and that's valuable.
Right.
It's not even just valuable. That's what we do.
Right.
Man.
Right.
And that's for people with confidence. That's what we have to have in a room, or like, I'm not showing up.
Right.
Why would I be here?
Or why would you hire me?
Yeah. Yeah. There's plenty of other people that would, like you said, look, we'll do this, and for probably cheaper.
Yes.
Because they don't have the confidence I have.
And they'll be and they'll be super easy to work with.
Yeah.
Because they're not. It's not about their own art. They're getting their money and they're doing their thing. And like, it's not to knock that. It's just to say that when you're taking an original project and you've written these songs, taking it from your fucking brain to the page to the stage, whatever that is. Like, yes, it's a thing that demands to be heard. Or if you're not going to play with that conviction, I don't know, go play covers.
It's just not the bag for you.
Right.
It's not the bag for me. Like, to do what's expected, to me, is not, and I'm going to say rock and roll, but you know what I mean, that punk, that rock and roll, that's the spirit of music and of good music. That's why people come to see music, is to see somebody be against what's happening,
right,
and fight for that room,
right.
And plus with your songs, and I've listened to it so much, and I've listened to the words, like those, the lyrics that you've got don't come from, oh, that'd be cool to say. It comes from life, and it comes from a fight, an internal dialogue that's ongoing forever, and that means something to you, and you can tell. And like, to expect you to go up there and play background music is just absolutely insane.
Right. And, well, because those songs are my life, and I'm sharing them with people. Yeah. And what I think you get from an album like When the Bars Close is that it's been really hard, and also it's like, yeah, it's stuff that I fundamentally believe in, and I think it's worth sharing with people because I love the audiences that I play for. But that's very different than just giving people what they want, which is like Billy Joel covers or whatever the fuck they want to hear.
Yeah, and man, they see you with a piano, and God, people, I can't even imagine.
They see saxophone.
Yeah.
And so if I listen to what those people wanted, I just play saxophone all night.
Right.
Because people are really stupid in a lot of those situations. That's the nature of, we don't have the management and the agencies getting us into the cool Red Bull sponsors showcase.
Right.
So instead you're the traveling circus winning over whoever the fuck walks in.
Yeah.
And so you've got to be like, I've even had people try to request songs while I'm playing my show.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, wait, you're going to like it. Fucking wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
This is something you'll ask for next time we come.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And one of the things that occurred to me, like listening to the record, especially when the bars close, is a lot of times when we talk to other people, like when you get into a real deep conversation with somebody that's not a musician, they'll often say, man, you should write a book, or you should, and like, dude, you did. Like, this is the story. This is the story of what's going on.
Yeah.
And like, as a musician, I'm like, yeah, and then you have to think like, it's relatable to the guy that works at Office Depot too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that you've transcended, I think, with this one is, and you're well on your way to, is like, it's not just a musician's album. Because that's Austin. That's the problem with Austin right now.
Right.
Is it's musicians playing for musicians, and that's not where we get somewhere.
No.
They're either playing for musicians or they're playing to what they think should be played.
They're playing to the tastemaker, the fucking douchebags who are doing whatever. And I'm not going to say anything on the thing, but it's like, that's not the people you need to win over there, because those people have their heads up their butts, and they don't know anything about anything. And then the musicians, as much as you want to noodle around and have fun, it's actually not that important either. Yeah, so I think you nailed it, and I think what happened to me in the course of being on the road for 2 or 3 years, and then having all my shit dashed because of COVID, and then I don't know if you know that, like, I had a stroke that almost fucking killed me.
No.
That's what Promised Land, like, I wrote all that stuff after that.
Damn.
So that's like songs like Here I Am and all that stuff that I
was this pre-COVID, during COVID, where
it was almost a year ago, so September of last
year.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
But I was just gonna say, like, I think all
pocket.
these things that happened changed me from maybe being kind of like an arrogant, like, look how talented I am, and then I went to UT and I was like this intellectual whatever, like this fucker.
Yeah.
To being, you're on the road playing to nobody or playing to some people, and you smell the stale beer getting mopped up at the end of the night, and you're waiting for the dude who's the GM to give you your settlement, right? And they're hosing off those mats, and I think it changes you into this like denim wearing blue collar. And I don't know. I mean, I'm still an intellectual snob, but it makes you start to relate to a different life. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happened. And so you drive enough around the south of the country or the Midwest, mm-hmm. and you play, and it's like hard, and then when you do get a good crowd, you're so fucking thankful for it that you're going to give them everything.
Yeah.
That it changed me from being maybe a guy that was a very much like, look at me, look how good I am, look how good my piano is, to being like, I want to write songs for normal people. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, what When the Bars Close. I mean, that song, When the Bars Close, it's a little bit about what I was seeing as I was driving around at the beginning of COVID, which is everything shut down. Right. But it's also about like this idea of salvation, of like everyone is going through something of that nature. Yeah. Everyone has somebody they're leaning on, and that, it's a shot at redemption. It's a shot at all this stuff. I think everyone's going through that.
That's the human story.
Right. It's a human story, and that's very different than a privileged college kid that doesn't have any perspective and wants people to think he's cool.
Yeah.
And that guy sucks.
Well, you're using what that guy accumulated,
right,
to inform how you speak to what we'll call normal people, because we're arrogant. But
right.
the normal people out there doing normal things.
Right.
It's not even dumbing it down. You just have to distill it into a thing that they can hold in their hand and go, oh, well, yeah, I got that.
Right.
Like, I've got one of these too.
Right.
But
like a
yours
song.
is prettier.
Right. And because like a song like Back Home is a song you can shout in a bar.
Yeah.
A song like Give Me Time is a song that people, like, I will play that in Amarillo, and I will watch people's cowboy hats start moving. A song like In That Moment, which is like a groovy kind of R&B song, that's a song that you will see couples start like moving to. And it doesn't matter whether they're old people or young people. They like it, and it's because it's not really about me anymore. I mean, it's my story, but it's meant to be like, hey, these are your songs.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, it seems like it resonates with people when they hear it.
Going into the studio for When the Bars Close, I struggle to ask this because so few people outside of music give a flying crap what we do in the studio.
Sure.
But what was the decision made, and how long had you been with the band? Kind of take me through that process.
Yeah, so I mean, what it came down to at first was like, we should probably have a new 4 or 5 songs for booking. Mm-hmm. That was the original intent, because you're never gonna fucking make music just because you want to make a great album. Right. I mean, when you're actually a touring band and you're busy, and I was originally like, man, I could get my brother-in-law Angus does video for Whole Foods. He's like their head video guy.
Nice.
And so he's more than generous at this time, and he shouldn't be, but he'll come out and shoot my stupid fucking band in the studio, and we'll be going through the live version of the song, and it's cool. So that's a lot of our booking footage is his footage. But anyway, so originally it was like, you know what, let's track these songs live and get Angus to video it, and we can use this as a new press kit. That was it. And I had Give Me Time, 35 Days, Changed My Mind, maybe South Carolina at that point, and then like Back Home or something.
I fucking love South Carolina.
South Carolina's jam.
Yeah.
And originally it was going to be an EP. Mm-hmm. Originally it was going to be for live.
Wolfpack.
Yeah.
Were you influenced by that going into there?
No.
Because it's funny how similar the kind of single camera, in the live tracking kind of thing, because that's what works.
Yeah.
And like, that's bizarre.
Yeah.
Because from where we're coming into that, like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's have more of this.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting how that stuff takes off. No, it wasn't. These are all just economic decisions, which is like, I'm poor. I have a budget of $800. Mm-hmm. What do we fucking do? So originally it starts off like that, and we were tracking on tape, which is cool that Nick Joswick and the guys at Fifth Street Studios just had that available.
Right.
The way this happened, actually pretty crazy. My dad lives in Corpus Christi. He ran into the guy who owns Fifth Street Studios at Surf Club in Corpus Christi, and my poster was up at Surf Club because we were supposed to play there at some point. Right. And that guy and my dad are drinking beer together, and then this guy insists on calling me, and he's like, hey, and his name's Ryan or something, and he was like, hey, I'm in the studio. You should fucking go out, record it, and then I was like, whatever. And so I ended up learning about Fifth Street Studios through my dad drinking a beer with somebody in Corpus Christi randomly.
Man, if that's not the plan playing itself out, you know what I mean? Like, coincidences. If you take advantage of what happens, there are no coincidences.
Right.
And you had to go there and do the thing.
Right.
And that's so. What was pre-production for you? Is it just you and the band in a room? Just going after it, like what's that like?
I mean, When the Bars Close, it's funny because now I listen back to that and I'm like, this is an album that really could have used pre-production.
Right.
But for people that like music and people that like our band, they're like, I love it. It's so energetic. And I'm like, yeah, there's parts going all over the fucking place. Sure.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any really, right? I had these songs and we had studio times blocked off. Right. And I would be like, all right, like let's play through South Carolina. And we're in B flat. Here's how it goes. Yeah. You know, we played it on stage in bars before, but that was what it was. And then it was like, yeah, that's about good enough.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of that. And I was singing vocals live in the track, which is a crazy thing that I wouldn't do now, but I did then, and it works for that album.
I thank God that you did, though.
Yeah.
Because with your style and the energy, especially for that record and that kind of Mad Dogs and Englishmen arrangement.
Yeah,
like,
it is
you and then you. And then why not? And then
it is very much that.
You could very easily overproduce the vocals.
Yep.
And just kill it.
Yeah.
And like to have the live vocals there really is my favorite part because my wife and I listen to records all the time and we can't help but hear the pitch correction that's in there.
Yep.
And it drives us nuts.
Right.
Because like real singers are using it. And it's like,
stop it.
Man,
yeah,
like,
it's turning us all into fucking Instagram models. I will say, to the credit of the new album, we're not doing any pitch correction. We're not doing any of that stuff. You know, it's the same studio. It's Nick.
Right.
It's us. I think working with songs that I feel better about because they're new ones, right?
Yeah.
With arrangements and hooks where I've made the melodies central and been like, here's what goes here, here's what goes here, and here's how I want to sing this vocally. Right. Just putting thought into it. So, and we'll see what happens when it's. The way things go, I'll end up liking the other one better. Or it's always things are like that.
There's a whole lot of guitar.
Yeah.
On When the Bars Close.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision, or was that you being a giving person?
I think it was probably. Thanks for saying that, because I deal with guitar player problems where it's very much because the guitar always thinks that there should be more guitar, especially during live shows. You've probably dealt with this in bands.
Oh God, yes.
Like, hey, I only got a solo on all these songs, but this, and like, dude, like, it's not really about that.
God,
that seems to largely be guitar player world.
Yeah.
These are always the battles you're fighting as a band leader. Yeah, so I think it's very much that, and also just like, it was a lot of cueing.
Right.
So it's a lot of like, all right, South Carolina, we're gonna do that breakdown. Hey, take it.
You're keeping the band happy in the room. So take me back to a year ago.
Yeah.
You have a stroke.
Yeah. So I just woke up with horrible vertigo on like at the end of August of last year. I'd just gotten back from a run of shows. Thank God it didn't happen while I was on the road.
Yeah.
But I woke up where like I had a dream that I was spinning, and then I woke up and I was like, my bed was doing this. Oof. Yeah, it makes you puke just thinking about it. So awful. And I had to call the ambulance and basically have them like drag me to the hospital because I couldn't walk.
Right.
It was awful. I was super sick. And I didn't know what the hell was up with me. They thought I was on drugs. You know, the paramedics were like, what drugs are you on? And you're like, I can't look at you because I'm going to throw up.
Yeah.
And I did a lot.
Sure.
Yeah, it was horrible, worst day of my life kind of thing. Went to the hospital and they took me into the CAT scan, whatever it is, right? The scanning thing.
Yeah.
The pod.
Yeah. MRI?
The MRI.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And they're like, oh yeah, like you have this thing in your brain, like that's a mini stroke, or that's a stroke. It's in your cerebellum. That's your balance and coordination. That's what just happened to you. So I had a blood clot in my brain.
Right.
Yeah. And it's because, thankfully, I guess, like it's a condition that's semi-common, which is it's a small hole in your heart.
Okay,
and
yeah.
people have this, and they're born with it. Most people never know they have
right.
it, but it's going to increase the chance that a blood clot gets to your brain. That's what it was. I think there's been a couple musicians, I don't know off the top of my head, but there's people that
right.
in the scene that have had this, or you'll see like someone's 25 that has a stroke. That's generally why. I thought I was going to die. I was basically out for a month. As far as like I was in hospital for 2 weeks because they basically had to do surgery on my heart to close it. So they basically they put me out and they put like a little Lego piece in my heart to stop the thing, and now I'm fine. But it took I just take a aspirin like an old man, like on Step Brothers when they talk about, they're like, I've been taking baby aspirin.
Right.
I do that now.
Did they have to operate on your brain or did it pass?
No, they were very much like, yeah, it'll work itself out. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, like I will say, like this within a day was much more just like being very, very drunk.
Okay.
And so for about a month, I just felt like I was drunk all the time, which is a horrible way to feel when you're like 8 a.m. and you wake up and everything's like
Oh man.
So, but I mean, and it was crazy. I had a bunch of shows booked, and remember, these are all shows that I'd already rescheduled from COVID.
Right.
So they all got wiped off the calendar. I had an agent for about 5 minutes who was really just sitting on my business and not really doing much, and then telling me how he was having a hard time booking me, and I'm like, I don't think this is hard to book. And he calls me and he was like, oh man, I'm real sorry, but we're just hard. And I was like, oh, because I had a stroke. Like, you fucker. So if he's listening, I remember.
I mean, it was an easy out to a job he couldn't do.
Yeah, it was an easy out to a job. Exactly. And so basically I had to start over in a lot of ways. As far as, I mean, luckily I wasn't super fucked up.
Right.
But it was, I mean, even now, if I lean back too quick, everything's... So, yeah, it was balance and coordination, and luckily it wasn't speech. Luckily it wasn't... It was funny, even my girlfriend brought her keyboard, her brother's keyboard, to the hospital. And I luckily, even the second day, you know, because I was just sitting around waiting for my surgery, and I was like, oh, cool, I can still play piano.
Man, what a frightening couple of minutes before you played.
Right.
Can I still...
Right. And that was the first, like, very quickly, that was one of my first thoughts, was like, can I still do this thing? Wow. So there's pictures of me in a hospital bed, like, plunking around on a little Casio.
Send me some of those.
Yeah.
When I was listening to When the Bars Close, there's it's almost referencing a turning point in your life, or in your life that changed you in some way, and that I was here and now I'm here kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then I hear the new record's called The Promised Land.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, like, what's going on here?
Right.
The Promised Land now makes a whole lot of sense in the changing aspect from that. But, like, what did change in you when that happened?
You mean the stroke?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of feel like it's the cliche stuff. You start to think about what's important,
right?
What you still want to be doing, even if you are physically incapacitated, what you would still try to do.
Yeah.
And also what matters, right? And you start thinking about people that you care about, and people that care about you regardless of your success or not success. Right. And that's family, that's girlfriend, that's some close friends. So you start to really, I think, declutter your brain of all stupid shit of like, oh, I hope so-and-so thinks I'm cool. It's like, well, fuck so-and-so. Yeah. Because they weren't there when I had a stroke. Right. Or they dropped me when I had a stroke. But my family didn't, and like my friends didn't. They didn't matter in the end anyway. They didn't matter. Yeah. Fuck them. Yeah. And so I think it puts a lot of clarity. It also, I mean, Promised Land is a lot about wrestling with, like, God and whatever the hell that is. Right. And I think a lot of musicians have a hard time talking about it because they're too smart for it, which is silly, because it's all, the God stuff is at the heart of, I think, our need to create and our need to, whatever, it's deep. Whether you shit on it or not, it's deep. And
or whether it's shit on you.
Yeah, because that's the thing, 'cause a lot of it's a South Texas guy. I mean, I was in a fine place with that, but I saw a lot of it, misapplied.
Right. Yeah.
But no, so Promised Land is about being out in the wilderness and trying to come to this place it's a biblical story, right? Yeah. And it's like relating to that at this stage in my life as a guy in my late 20s, as a guy that had just had all my income and shows wiped away, as a dude whose health became questionable, which is always a thing I took for granted. Yeah. As a guy, also, like, I think a lot of my identity is around kind of this, I don't want to sound arrogant or whatever, but this ability to go be a superhero, right? Like, to not only be good at what I do, but to be one of the best, to be able to do the art, the music, everything, book the shows, fly in, do it all, be awesome, and then be fun with everyone at the end of the show, and, like, whatever. And suddenly all those things get called into question, and it's like, okay, well, who's still there with me? And can I still take these people with me to that place? Yeah. Is that still doable? And so that's a lot of what that's about.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think it's some real shit.
A tentative date that's way too far out so that you'll release it before that.
Yeah, probably fall this year.
So let's say 2023.
So let's just call it 2023 in the spring, right?
Yeah.
Because what's really going to happen is we're going to finish it probably within the next month, and I'll send it to you, and you'll be like, I really like this. Yeah. And then we'll burn it on a CD, and I'll sell those at my shows.
Right.
And then I will try to pitch it to all these people. And you know who you are.
Why?
And then...
Why?
Well, I would like to get it out there on a level that is big, and it's not fucking ego thing. It's because I think this could be, if Nathaniel Rateliff is getting playlisted, if Chris Stapleton's getting played, and I think Chris Stapleton's great. I want to throw my hat in that ring and be like, I've arrived. I think it's going to be the best album that comes out of Austin for a while. And I mean, I will say Kelsey Wilson's album with Sir Woman, there's some really cool songs on that. That sounds really good.
It does.
So I will say that. So I'll rephrase what I said, which is I think it'll be competitive with people like her, people that are national level artists, whether that's White Denim, whether that's Wild Child. I guess that's dated now, but that's what I want this album to be is, hey, this guy out of Austin is a national level talent. This is an album worth paying attention to. And that's, I don't think I get to control that. I think that's about, at some point, having some people whose job it is to know Spotify playlisters, to know how to get it on radio, whoever the fuck listens to that. Yeah, I think it's important to try to do everything that I possibly can so that when I do release it, it's 5 million listens on it as opposed to the 500 of people that have followed us in the local scene.
Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah.
Is that the promised land?
You mean like that point?
The 5 million... Is it like what is the promised land to you now?
Man, I don't even know. That's what the thing about a musician, right? You're always becoming, you're perpetually becoming this thing, and you're never there. It's like approaching the speed of light.
Right.
You're always just close.
Right.
So it's probably intangible, but I think this place where maybe my music actually gets out there on some level. Maybe it actually reaches people on a scalable level that's important to them. Because it's not about me. I think I'm just kind of a vessel for this. Talk about the God stuff. I think a lot of Promised Land is about this, understanding that my job is to carry this to the finish line, whatever that finish line may be, whether that is hopefully a comfortable, wonderful life, or whether it's something that's not great. I don't know, but it's my job to carry it there, and that's kind of how I feel about this.
I will say, you can't cross a finish line you don't define.
That's true.
So
yeah,
even because the finish line is never the finish line.
Right.
It's just a stepping stone to the next finish line.
Sure.
But you can't cross a finish line that you don't define. So take some time.
Yeah.
And
think really about what I really want.
Because if it's 5 million, then go get 5 million, and then you want 10.
Right.
It's not like you're going to get to 5 million and be like, I did it.
I'm done. I'm done.
I'm going home. No, you're going to get to 5 million and go, I bet I can do 25.
Right.
Because my guess is you're going to release a record after this.
Right. No, I'm not done.
You know what I mean?
Because that's funny. This one's almost done, and I've already got 8 songs that I've written for the new record.
Yeah.
That I don't even know what the fuck that is yet.
Right.
And it's just so much songs that are we're already playing them on stage because we just need new songs to keep people on board.
Yeah.
You run a band.
It's the perpetual motion.
So, okay, I'll rephrase a bit. I'll say that the immediate goal, we need some sort of agent with a credible agency to get us in front of a few hundred cap rooms. That's actually a reasonable goal. We're very well prepared for that. And I keep talking to agents who, for some reason, it's amazing that but we need that.
Can you do it yourself?
No, you can't. Sure? You can't, because what you're doing, I think music has shifted even a lot in the past 5 years or 10 years, where clubs used to have to pick up the phone from artists and bet on the bands that they brought in that they were going to be good on some level, and the club had to market it on some level. And now you look at any mid-sized club, any good venue that people actually go to that like music, the 500 cap room in Denver, the 300, the Aggie Theater out in Fort Collins, whatever the fuck it is, they're booking almost all artists that are on some sort of agency. And it's one of 4 or 5. It's Mint Talent, it's Madison House, it used to be Paradigm, they no longer exist. It's Atomic Music here in Austin, even though that's super old school.
Yeah.
But that's what's controlling those markets. Right. And if you're not getting those people, I spend about 5 hours to 6 hours a day sending emails, and I've done that for 5 years.
Yeah.
That's an immense waste of my time.
It is.
And at some point I can't be doing that, because it's only going to get us into B-list shows. We're never going to get on the festivals. We're not going to get on any circuits like that.
And this is where I just kind of have fun with
you.
But with your skill and talent level, you're the kind of guy, because how it used to work during the day of the music we actually listened to, back then, is if you wanted to play a festival, you threw a festival.
Yeah.
If you wanted to do these, you made the thing happen.
Right.
And you are obviously capable, because what is working right now, is not working.
Right.
And it's not gonna work in the future because the system is broken.
It does seem like it's but
it
it's
worries
fucked.
me to watch you chase
a thing that doesn't really matter.
A thing that could be snapped up like that as soon as the next thing happens. And
right.
I think that you could be a big part of, because it's the reason it's the way it is right now is the reason we talked about in the beginning. They don't know their music history. You do.
Right.
So apply that music history to the future because it maps and it's all cycles and what's coming has already happened and all that.
Yeah.
Because what I see for you, I'm gonna say some big things, and I truly mean them. But like you could redefine the Austin sound because right now it's kind of Gary Clark.
Right.
Which is not a terribly bad thing.
Not a bad thing.
It's not a terribly bad thing. But it's not sustainable.
Right.
And it's not, we don't need 8-year-olds learning to play guitar like Gary Clark Jr.
Right.
We need 8-year-olds that learn to lead a band.
Right.
There's a difference.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like and nothing against Gary. I get
what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
You're on a different level, on a different playing field in a different sport.
Right.
And so don't, I don't say don't, but like be mindful of that as you go because you have something that obviously doesn't fit the mold they're trying to fit.
Right.
But exists on a plane that can transcend those hierarchies and can go somewhere else. Have you tried like booking like talk shows, like national talk shows?
No, I just thought they wouldn't fucking care about me.
You had a stroke.
Yeah.
At 26, 25?
Yeah, 26.
And you play like you do. You can work a room.
Yeah.
Put together a press kit, a promo, and send it to the people.
You
do the research as much as I do. And like, this is the new Austin sound. This is what's happening now. This is what's going on in the real world that people will pay attention to and love.
And also, I guess I'm out there. Me and my band are out there fighting that fight in the real world every night in bars, in venues, in wherever, in county fairs, in little festivals.
And the Rolling Stone is not going to write about that.
No.
Because they think that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
That's all of it exists now. Besides the fake.
Right, and that stuff, I think a lot of times that stuff is just PR stuff that's hemorrhaging money.
Yeah.
Where, like, it's not even sustainable. Because it's funny, like, talking to people that are maybe touring on that level or opening for someone, and then you realize, like, no one's making money. Yeah. And these are all just, like, the kids of really rich people.
No one's making money, and more importantly, the audience, and especially the younger generation, is not being affected by it.
No, I think they're so fucking bored. You know, and that's, like, I actually wrote a song around this concept. It's so boring. It's so boring to see these media conglomerate monsters trot out 19 and 20-year-old sexy artists who have nothing to say about anything and to dress them up in some sort of packaging or some sort of social change that they don't know anything about. And then to try to fool an audience into thinking that is music. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I think you're right. Like, I think people that are young, I meet so many young people that have never seen a live show except for like a Billie Eilish concert. Mm-hmm. And it's because they don't understand
That's not live music.
That's not live music. That is a product. And that's okay.
It's entertainment. And that's great if you want to be entertained.
If you want to be entertained, if you want to go see Cirque du Soleil or whatever, sure.
Cool. Great.
That's cool. It's a really expensive production. It looks great.
But there's something more.
There's something more.
And there's something that worked so well that it defined and
still
enabled
defines
everything that's happening now.
It's still the reason that guys that are in their 60s have long hair. Mm-hmm.
And you're a part of that lineage.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like that's if you chase the wrong thing, it's easy to forget that.
Right.
And like we talked about earlier. I mean, it's easy to forget where you come from.
Right.
And where you come from is an honest to God place of you came from that before you got here.
Right.
And you could lose that if you start chasing agencies and all this stuff. Because I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I can't see Leon Russell at 25 emailing for 6 hours a day trying to get out there. You're doing something that's worth seeing that's different from everybody else.
Yeah.
And that means you have to take a different road.
Yeah.
And that may be going on Ellen or going on the late shows or something like that. Send them presents in the mail. I mean, you did marketing. You know how this shit works.
Yeah.
Like, go around the barricade because the obstacle is only there to grind you up and spit you
into
out.
Nothing.
Into another Billie Eilish. Because you could go... I did a thing, top 10 signs that you might be an Austin musician, and my number one was you lost a singing competition on TV. You know what I mean? Like, don't do that.
Right.
And that's the machine that exists right now. That's chewing people's souls up and spitting them out.
Turning them into content fodder.
Because their market is middle-aged women that watch TV.
Yeah. That's not what I'm doing. And I want to reach, and it's cool when we do get a chance to get in front of a college crowd or a crowd of like weirdo indie kids that like listen to co-op radio.
Yeah.
They fucking love what we're doing because it's visceral.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my God.
And that's what I want to from our previous conversation. That's Joe Rogan.
Right.
That's why he's appreciated. Jordan Peterson. The same thing. Like
it's the same thing. It's a visceral.
It's something that you can. This is dangerous.
Yeah.
It's not normal.
Right.
As we have defined.
It's not
normal
packaged.
Now. And that feeds something that is trying to be extinguished, especially out of young men. That like.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be dangerous or aggressive.
Isn't it? It's okay. It's interesting. We're stepping into some controversial, but I feel like I've seen this a lot in the scene. Is like this like absence of like it's interesting the way that I think a lot of young guys are approaching music because I don't see a lot of them out because when I'm thinking you talked about lineage, man. Like I mean we play shows now in Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina. I'm thinking like, man, I'm understanding Johnny Cash, or I'm starting to understand Elvis, or I'm starting to understand Little Richard. Or, man, James Brown, I get it on some level because that dude was like, in the segregated South when it was hot outside and he's got this music gift and he's trotting the fucking pavement on the road and he's going to try to get these people to fucking look at him.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I get what that feels like. Or Elvis trucking around, Mississippi, these guys. And I think that's why I really relate to like these frontman, I see Little Richard stand on the piano and like, or Mick Jagger even, which he can't stand him. But one thing that's cool, is he saw those guys. Oh, yeah. Even if he was a posh little British kid imitating it.
And he found his own way to do it.
He found his own way to do it.
That's why it's okay.
Commanding an audience. And it is interesting. Maybe it's a commentary on, it does seem like the masculine frontman, you don't see a lot of it. Mm-hmm. You see a lot of it kind of steeped in like indie, almost like ironicness. Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't really care that much. Or like... And it's just interesting.
It drives me so.
It's interesting you said that because I feel like I see it, but I can't say it. And yeah, you said it.
But like one of the things in Austin is everybody wants to kind of call Austin laid back.
Yeah.
That is our downfall.
Right.
Like it is the worst thing that we can be.
Well, because I'm
we get bought.
And also like that's true. And also like I'm as a band leader, as a frontman, as a musician, I'm not chill.
You shouldn't be.
Because I deeply give a shit.
This stuff matters.
And it matters. Man. It's your fucking life. Yeah. It's your if you're
and
doing
it's their lives too.
It's their lives too. Because if you're a musician that really believes what you're doing, just like I think if you're a chef that believes in what you're cooking, or you're a painter, you want to feed the soul of the audience, and that is not a trivial like fucking. You don't have a distance from that. Mm-hmm. That is very much like I'm here right now. We're deeply present. I'm gonna give you everything that I have, and you're gonna get something from this. That's intangible.
And you have to
important.
knock on the door to do it.
Yeah.
You can't. It's just drive around the neighborhood for a terrible analogy. But
right.
Like you have to aggressively go there and win the crowd, win the people.
Yeah, you have to be a crazy person. And that's a thing as a frontman, as a songwriter, as a guy pushing my music. I do it once again, especially like over the past couple of years, like it's not an ego thing. It's not about me. Because if I could tomorrow morning just wake up and want to go back to my marketing job and go shoot baskets after work, I would do it.
Right.
But it's not like that.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you said that. The stuff about Austin being chill, which is like, the chill is just it's now like it's branded marketing by Los Angeles companies that are making Yeti ads. It's not like it's chill in the way Willie Nelson was chill. Yeah. It's a fucking...
Willie Nelson wasn't chill.
And also
he was high, but he wasn't chill.
I'm sure that guy deeply gave a shit about what he's... It is interesting, like this apathetic...
Because that's cool.
Because that's cool.
Because it's been defined by LA and New York as what's cool.
Right.
And we want to be cool as a city, and that's not who we are.
And it's like maybe when you're a wealthy kid that gets to go to Berklee College of Music because your parents know somebody. When you do that, and then you have the right people that you meet, and it's all just kind of there, you can afford to be chill about it. You can, but I don't know if, I doubt Little Richard was chill when it came to his fucking shows, or Chuck Berry, which I know that guy wasn't super nice, but when it came to his music, those people were probably, or Bruce Springsteen, those people were crazy people.
Yeah.
And you have to be. And I totally agree with you, and I think a lot of young people, when they see me on stage being fucking nuts, it's like, I think there's something to it, where they're like, wow,
it lets them know that they're capable and they're allowed to go for it.
Yeah, go all in on something.
Because there's nothing else in life if you don't go all in on something. I think
that's
what comes across in the records, that's what comes across in the live show, but like that's not gonna work in corporate music town.
No.
You know, but, and look into Wolfpack a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, they sold out Madison Square Garden without a record label.
Yeah, they're killing it.
I don't know how they did it, but they're, just that they did, to me, as looking at them as phenomenal musicians, it's like, you know how to play.
Right.
And you did the thing. I haven't seen that in a while.
Right.
You know?
That's cool. That's new.
But they went around. And there's
around.
multiple ways around that big wall that's been put up. And I really see you as you talk about like the segregation and like Little Richard and Chuck Berry and fighting that huge war that they had to fight.
Right.
And won.
And it maybe defined them and their ability too.
Don't get me wrong, internet, because I'm not equating it, but you have a smaller battle,
right?
Way smaller battle to fight because of how we.
He's making an analogy, because it's not. Yes.
But like you have a battle to fight that's only yours to fight,
right?
And a kid that grows up privileged enough to go to Berklee College of Music and never has to worry about money and all this kind of stuff doesn't have the tools to fight that,
right?
If they don't come from the lineage of where you came from,
right?
And that's sellable.
Yeah.
But not in the market that won't take it.
Right.
It's not going to work opening for Billie Eilish.
No. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I
know what you're saying, which is that the blob that is the official industry, they're not going to resonate.
Dead. Like it's still breathing, but the original industry is dead.
Right.
It doesn't work anymore. It's bleeding money, and the only way that any artist break. I don't trust the numbers. Like we can get into Joe Rogan conspiracy shit right now.
Sure.
But like I don't trust Spotify numbers. I just don't. I don't trust Nielsen ratings or any of this stuff where they're basing all of their ad spends on.
Right.
What really matters is the people that you affect on a real soulful level.
Right.
And they go out and do something better. The 60s and 70s were the greatest music of all time because people listened to it and then went out and did stuff about it.
Yeah, and
because
they moved their soul and their consciousness.
Yeah, because I saw, that's possible. There's something there that I didn't know that was possible, and now I can do.
Right.
And that's what Austin is completely lacking right now, and has been forever, because it's not. Austin seems to want to be L.A. or New York.
Right.
And not itself. And one thing that I think we've got going on us is we don't have the embedded infrastructure of copyright like Nashville does, or like L.A. and New York to die on. We don't have anything. We've got live music. That's it. And even that is kind of questionable at this point.
Right.
But like there's people like you that are still doing the thing that will always work.
Right.
It's shaking hands.
It's the thing that people were doing 50 years ago, 80 years ago.
And it will always work. And it takes more time.
Yeah.
Because shaking hands takes more time.
Right.
And one idea I've been playing with, and this I don't even know if this is for this, but I'm just talking to you now.
Yeah, you cut whatever you want, put whatever on there.
You need to be running for office in this.
Right.
To where you're shaking hands and kissing babies and being out in front of people, having those sound bites about you that can be repeated and run on a promo for Ellen. And I don't want to keep going back to Ellen. Maybe that's something you should look into.
It is crazy. I know you're talking about like testimonials. Yeah. Because I do, and I don't. But
no, not testimonials. Like just the tagline of you.
Yeah.
Like what is Nick Parr and the Selfless Lovers? It's this 10-word phrase that she can repeat. And from Austin, this blah 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 blah. But like campaigning.
Yeah.
Because you need to be running for president of Austin Music.
And I think that's kind of what I've been doing.
Yeah.
And it's like.
Honestly, just don't quit.
Yeah.
And don't look for an agent because those people will kill you.
They do suck.
And especially with your marketing degree, you know this.
Right.
Like, you know what they're going to do.
Well, it's just
not going to work.
My problem right now is access. So, like, if I want to play any good club in any city. Any good club in any city. If I want to go play, I'm trying to think, just like name,
But if you've been on Ellen.
Then you can do all that stuff.
I talk a lot about hope. And, like, I have hope in you getting around that.
Yeah.
And not having to go through. You may make it through, but you'll have scars from that.
No, I think it'll be. It's tough because even when I've hung out with the kinds of people that make those kinds of decisions.
You don't like those people, do you?
Because I'm not like them.
Yeah.
And I think I come across as like, whoa, Nick's like he's on Adderall all the time. It's like, yeah, because I give a shit about what I do and I love it.
Yeah.
You know?
You're on fire for what you do.
I love it.
That comes across.
Yeah. And
they're not.
And I'm not the kind of person that's going to wear like sunglasses inside and wear a big hat and fucking drink a $14 drink. Like, just not. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it at the Native Hostel.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do that. So you're right. There's a disconnect, And it's like, I guess you're right, where there's like, maybe we don't need those people. Like, maybe.
I'm playing like high schools.
I've been thinking about that shit.
Yeah.
I don't know how, it's so much bureaucracy these days.
Is there?
It's just a lot of like decision makers having to make decisions about I don't know.
High school?
Yeah. But I think that's a great idea. Like, go play high schools, go play like community colleges or colleges and stuff. Yeah.
With the Promised Land.
Yeah.
You could go around tour mega churches.
I've thought about that too. I've actually, because I don't cuss in my music, and like, I don't know if I'm Christian, but I am Christian friendly. And like, I think that people that are Christians deserve to have
people that go to mega churches. You know what I mean? Churches in general. Like, they may say, but
it's a business.
Like, come on, man.
Also, like, I've thought about this a lot because, like, even you're talking about mega churches. I've thought a lot about, like, red state areas, which is a lot of things that most people in Austin want. Oh, I'd never. And I'm like, dude, your state is red state. You live in the South.
The reddest.
So, like, you might as well go out shake some fucking hands and make friends and sell some posters and be nice and drink someone's lemonade if they offer it to you. Be cool.
Yeah.
And I thought that, too, where it's like, same kind of thing. How do I go around? Is it churches? Is it youth groups? Is it big county fairs? Is it fucking whatever? Because at the end of the day, 1,000 people is 1,000 people if they're tuned in.
Yeah.
So,
man, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do next. Because the doorways that will open to you won't be open for other people, and doorways for other people that are open to them won't be open to you.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have, I think, a very unique path to where you're going, and like, I'm here for it. I can't wait.
Thanks,
to see
man.
It. And I mean, anything I can do.
Yeah.
Hit me, because it's it gives me hope for the next generation of musicians. Because having kids, like, my focus has shifted from like right now to, oh my God, in 20 years, like, what if Madonna was the only thing that came out in the 90s? Where would we be,
right?
You know, and that's what it's like.
I've talked about that with buddies. It does seem like there is no there. You're right. Where the music will have these numbers, but it's not defining. Is there like
It's a little mouse behind you.
Really?
Yeah, it's real cute. Oh,
church mouse. It's a church mouse.
Church mouse.
It's quiet as a church mouse. So, but you're talking about just like, there's all these numbers on Spotify, there's all these metrics, there's all these views on the reels. Fucking stupid. We're all just stupid.
Yeah.
But like, it's not impacting. There's not a music culture. And we used to have these, and I do think that I'm a guy who can like wake people the fuck up, and I'll see it where like we'll play a summer concert series, and I will have, you know, young like kids coming up and being like, I want to learn piano now. I want to learn saxophone. I want to learn, how do you do that? And it's like, and like I said, I'm just the guy that's here for it. It's not an ego thing. I'm the one that does this thing, but it is cool. It's like, I think that's real impact, where I'm helping introduce young people to music that's fun and like vibrant, and maybe they'll like music.
But beyond wanting to come to and saying that, what they're saying when they say I want to learn piano to you, or I want to learn sax, they're not saying they want to learn piano or sax. They're saying, I want to do what I just saw you do.
I want to do that.
And that's big difference.
That's big, because if we have a bunch of kids that suddenly want to like write songs, be band leaders, and like make, that's the thing, dude. Like, adults now, because we've outsourced all of our fucking creativity, adults don't make anything. So we're all so fucking boring. Like, have you ever been to a birthday party and all the guys just like sit around and talk about, and you're like, I mean, and I'm not saying people have to make, I get it, people have real jobs, but also like there is this void where I think young people used to be allowed to be creative and make stuff, and now everything's made for them on the iPad or the fucking thing. Anyway, it would be cool if part of what I do with my life is inspire other people to make stuff, because that's what I do, is I make things. You know, so yeah.
And for a living.
For a living, yeah,
That's
I do it for a living. I
Yeah.
make stuff.
Yeah,
Yep.
and not just for fun, to affect people's lives and to get to the next place.
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
Well, I make stuff like my life depends on it, right? Because it does. It does. It's funny that people will see a show. We played. We always play. And people are like, man, that was amazing. You're so good. I love it. I love it so much. And I'm like, well, I have to be that good, or you wouldn't give a fuck about it. You know?
Or I don't get enough money to go home.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I have to do that, or I don't get paid.
Yeah.
And I can't. I have to do that, or I can't convince these dummies that run the venues. We have to not just be like, we have to be so much better than what's required that they go, wow, we're really glad you brought you in. That's good. So.
And that's where I think you're turning off a lot of the industry people.
Yeah.
Is because they're not used to that.
No.
So they do a little bit for somebody and it gets them farther than they were. If somebody did a little bit for you, it's not getting you any farther than you already are.
Right.
And man, that's
There's an irony to it, but it's funny.
It's beautiful because you're that's where success comes from.
Yeah.
Is when it's so different that you don't there's no box for it.
Right.
And there's no box for you right now. You know, because there's nobody out there doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's a tough ass road
to
walk down, but it's the road less traveled.
Yeah.
And the reward is at the end of the road less traveled.
Yeah.
And thank you.
Dude.
This was awesome.